and maybe I'm projecting my feelings upon everybody else, but it turns me off, and I don't want to get to know that person at all, right? Um, Follow along with them and see what they're doing or whatever. Um, but what it definitely does do is, again, it tells me that's a person that I can't depend on. If it ever would, things would get bad, then they're not going to be reliable. They're not going to show up. They're not going to actually fight, because again, the fight is here now, kids. Um, if you're not willing to fight now without bullets, then there's no reason to expect that you'd be willing to fight with them. Because the work that we need people to do right now is so simple that you don't even have to get off the couch. You can be a crack commando, and by that I mean your butt crack is hanging out on the couch. Send an email, make a phone call. Heaven forbid you sit at the table and write a letter and put it in an envelope and stamp it and whatever. What's a letter cost now? 56 cents or something like that. 60 cents. I lose track because I don't buy them. Work gets them just sent to us, so we don't have to pay for them. And they all say forever. They don't have an amount on them anymore. Whatever it costs to send a letter, I get it. It's expensive, but it has more impact when you do that. But if you would, everybody out there listening, if you would just contact your local representatives, whether it's county commissioners or city council, your state representatives in your state house, state senate, just the Senate if you're a Nebraskan, and then the people that represent you in Congress and in the House and in the Senate as well. Number one, if you would learn the names of all those people, you'd be light years ahead of most on the internet. Number two, if you would contact them and they would get to know your name and you contact them regularly, then again, even more light years ahead. It's such an easy thing to do. Reach out to these people. And it's, when they do great things, guess what? They don't get a lot of attaboys or attagirls. They just don't. They hardly even get any people complaining, but that's usually what they get. So give them that breath of fresh air and give them that attaboy. I mean, there's so many things that people can do now to get in the fight, which is why, gee, I'm so glad that you're here, because again, we've talked about this before, but if people don't want to ever see shots fired and, especially Americans shooting at other Americans, I mean, what are some of the things that you recommend that people start doing today to make sure that never happens?
One of my things I always wondered is you get some of those that are all gun ho, and if anybody's ever been in a tight spot, you learn very quickly your fight or flight instinct, and I don't think a lot of people ever really find that out until they're in that position,
right?
And so I like that people want to stand up, but I think you make a really good point. Why there is nothing flying around your head? Get involved. I mean, seriously, that's part of the biggest reason I do what I do and what I'm involved in, because I figure this much: if it ever does, quote, go sideways or whatever, I know I did everything I possibly could to stop it. And that's in person, not through on a keyboard warrior. Excuse me. With one of the things that my background I grew up in, I've been in a couple of positions where I was looking at the wrong end, and I had been shot at a few times. And I'll tell you what, it kind of changes your attitude about the whole all fun and games. It does. It brings the value of life very, very, very close, and the fragility of it. So people want to step up. I'm glad people are practicing or training or being a survivalist or this or that. But in Nebraska, it's a good example. We're going to have constitutional carry. If you're going to carry, get out, train. Make sure you can use that effectively, and safely, because you're going to have people around, if you're ever in that position. That's a good way. Just get out and do it.
Yeah, don't don't be all about the rights and then completely shirk the responsibilities that come with.
Absolutely.
Right? Because that, and you make a good point there too, because here's another thing that has nothing to do necessarily with civil war or anything like that, but if we want to fight against these draconian laws and gain some ground back, especially in, again, we've got 25 states now that don't require a state issued permission slip to put your coat on over your handgun. Lord willing, before the end of the year, we've got 8 of them. I think there's 3 states this year that are, I mean, we're all kind of neck and neck.
Yep.
And so, if that happens, then, you really need to prove that as a whole, we are responsible enough to handle our rights. And we can't do that with, 1 or 2 people. It's got to be everybody. It's got to be the vast majority, the overwhelming majority of people, so that the idiots really are the anomalies, right? Because if we can't police ourselves, then that's why those laws get put into place. If you've got, those of you that are raising little humans, when they get to a certain age, whether or not you can trust them, how responsible they are. And if you've got that kid that doesn't always test your patience, that kid that is always home at a decent time, every time that he or she goes out, typically the kids that understand the concept early on in life and they just come home when they're supposed to, they generally get a lot of leeway with curfews. Oftentimes they're not even told a specific time on their curfew, because they're told, come back when you think it's appropriate. You've kind of shown yourself that you make good choices, so keep doing that, and we won't have to put a hard and fast time frame on it. Just come back at an appropriate time. But the kids that consistently can't handle such a freedom as being out away from home like that and can't come home on time, then they get curfews. And if those get broken, then what do? You do other things besides just a curfew, and then you start losing, the kid starts losing privileges, or should, right? Groundings and losing the Xbox, losing the phone, whatever it is. So that's the government trying to be your daddy. That's where all these laws are coming from. And that's why, if we can prove, first of all, that as a vast majority, gun owners are responsible people, it's a lot easier to get those sanctions lifted, especially in the states that are fairly freedom-minded to begin with. Now, I understand if you're watching this and you live in Illinois or you live in Massachusetts, then yes, I feel for you. Or worse yet, behind the enemy lines of California, Stan, then yeah, I understand. It's going to be a lot harder fight for you guys, but that's no reason not to fight. I mean, I talk to so many people that think we ought to just break the country off along the San Andreas Fault and let most of California fall into the ocean, and I just don't agree with that. I think that there's so many good people in California now. There's so many people that vote the wrong way in California that the good people's voices are drowned out. But at the same time, we know some great folks over there, and I don't want to see them. I don't want to see the baby thrown out with the bathwater. Is what I don't want to see. California has great resources, people being one of them. I mean, the ones that do pay into income tax, they put a lot of money into the nation's economy. So don't rule out California just because they've been governed by some idiots for a while. So, having said all that, I mean, G-Webs, when somebody talks to you about this and you hear a lot of that bluster, or you see it online, because you do spend as much or more time online than probably any of us, do you just let it go? Do you address it? What do you do with that?
Right on. So you're talking like specifically the people that are out there making a bunch of talk that are getting in the way, or just making a bunch of talk because they want to hear themselves talk? I mean, we're just talking about the people in the chats, the people in the
Yeah, and
internet
mostly
forums,
the
people
people
in
that
the comments to news articles, or
want to feel like they're big people, so they run their mouth.
but not like people showing up at like a First Amendment audit, or people that call up radio shows and get in the way, or like people that show up with air horns. Like Tony Simon was speaking and some guy showed up with like a loudspeaker just to overtalk him in
Oh,
real
wow.
life. We're not
Well,
talking
that's
about
a whole
people that are
separate
just being a nuisance, right? We're talking about people that are just trying to
the
pound their
keyboard
chest.
commandos.
Okay, so in that case, okay, so first off, do you let people evolve? Were we the same person as children as we are as adults? Are we the same people as new gun owners as we are as experienced gun owners, as we are as mentors and coaches? So people are going to evolve. And if you're going to, are people allowed to make a mistake, and are they allowed to move on? So are the people that are doing it there to be a harassment? Are they there to stop you? Are they there to stop you in the guise of a fool, or are they unaware? And if they're unaware, is it an opportunity for you to grow and to have a conversation in front of everybody with someone who's ignorant? And I don't want to say that in a bad way, but just unaware, but
Right.
a faster way to say is ignorant. And then have that conversation with them, stop and have that conversation with them occasionally when appropriate, and use them as an opportunity and an ally, because you've educated them and you brought them on board as you would a younger brother or a dumb cousin who's being a Yahoo. Or if they're there to cause trouble, do you do it in a way that's like distinguished and respectful, and kind of at the same time like, hey buddy, you're not going to bother us. We take this in stride. If you're trying to get a rise out of somebody, you're going to have to find somebody else. You're not going to find what you're looking for here. That's some of my, that could go keep going on, but there's a lot to this. I don't think there's any point in stopping much longer than having the occasional conversation to regroup the people that are on the right track, to remember that the people that are standing in their way are either unaware and they're just unsure of how to, mesh with the group, or they're there for a reason to intentionally misstep you.
Sure.
And often you can identify and take them out either way. If they're unaware, you can educate them and bring them on board. And if they're there to stop you, you can leverage that opportunity to show that you're above them and they're not going to deter you.
Yeah, and I think that's some really great points in there, actually. And that's one of the reasons I want to have this conversation tonight is, I wanted to get it off my chest and vent for a little bit and let you all in on my ranting there at the beginning. But now that I've got that off my chest, I want to make sure that as a whole that people do understand that in any given topic, the ones that are making the noise, especially the ones that are blustering, I mean, there's such the fringe. They don't speak for us as a whole, just like the people that want to show up with air horns and get in Tony Simon's face. Surely he did that from a distance and didn't get up in Tony's
No, he did
face.
it right in front of him. That's why it was so weird. And Tony was rocking. He was like 9 minutes into a 13-minute speech, and he was rocking. The guy was unaware. He was unaware, and he was kind of, I don't want to say needed some help, but he might have, there was something going on, and he was blinded by the situation, or, kind of lightheaded by the situation and not thinking clearly, because he was able to be taken aside and talked to, and he eventually calmed down. But it was something that, if left unchecked or not had sympathetic people in the audience to care for him and not just throw rocks or yell, it would have turned confrontational in a moment. It was a lit wick that kind of, it was a spark, an ember that came from a nearby cigarette or something, not a cigarette because it's not a smoker's fault, from a nearby electric spark, and dropped on some leaves. But instead of everyone freaking out and not knowing what to do, a single person or two stepped on it and made sure it was out, and then Tony's speech wasn't even affected. Can I take a second so you just didn't see the side? We have a new feature on StreamYard. Do you care if I stream this on my channel right away?
No, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Keep on.
Yep. That is, I guess I didn't include you. I did put a link up earlier and send it out to people this afternoon when I saw that's doable now. So yeah, pretty cool. StreamYard, actually, those of you that have channels, if you're in the panel, you can go ahead and restream this now, which it should have told you when you logged in. But if it didn't, you can work on that for next time if you want to. but it's kind of cool. That
I've been doing that since we started.
Free content. Free content.
Right?
Hey,
Yep, it was in the link, so I turned it on.
Oh, I didn't see it in the link, but I was sitting there going, why does this thing say it's recording? And I'm looking all over my computer trying to figure out why this thing's on. I'm like, oh, that's that new system or whatever.
Well, the other thing it does, I've got it set to record each one of you individually.
Okay,
Instead of only the groups. That way, if one of, for whatever reason, if I wanted to,
I thought I clicked something wrong and I'm uploading a video into your
you're
thing.
good.
Like, you know, you can share videos, and I'm like, I hope I'm uploading something good.
yeah, nope. I'm recording this as a whole, but I'm also recording basically five different broadcasts that it throws into my downloadable stuff, so I can, like I said, if it doesn't come through really well in the restream out through StreamYard, but it picked it up as it was coming in really clear, then I can do that, or I can just take one of you guys and full screen.
Well, now it's going off to two of my channels, so I wonder if it takes the whole thing or if it just takes from where I started.
No, it's going to take the whole thing. It should take all of us.
Just drop the. Well, I mean, will it start from the beginning of the show
or just right now?
I don't know,
will
but
it take your whole video? I imagine it'll place your whole video.
It's
at the
basically
end.
kind of like an automatic embed, I think, is what it does without having to do the work. Cool. The way that I understood it, because now I see that there's 3 different ones that are going here up the top of my screen. Pretty cool.
This is super powerful. Imagine if all of us, if you went live before something important, right? You went live and you had a full room, and everybody. Well, you can only have 6, so you had 2 channels. People that came in with 2, you filled this thing up, it would be 9 channels, and each one of those channels said, you know how you can do a redirect, a trailer and a redirect now?
Yep.
You can redirect after your show. If everyone
Sean Connery talked about this like 10 years ago. He had mentioned it would be cool if we could do this where we could all go live off of one stream and all push it on our own channels, So it's cool that
Connery
it's
credit. Don't give Connery credit. He's never gonna live that. He's never gonna let you live that down, dude.
No, sir. He mentioned it to me. He's like, this is something we need to do. We need to do like everybody go live at the same time on their channels. He goes, we got to find a way to do it. And now it's like StreamYard's like, hey guys.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking it gives us the opportunity to all redirect to one thing at the end, like go end this thing strategically right before something important happens. And then you got 9 different channels that direct to that one thing. But yeah, there's lots of ways to play with this. I'm hoping we're going to start having some epic chat battles, trivia games.
So. Bring more people in,
even in the comments, like, so I can't see who's coming from where, but I can tell. It doesn't put it up on the screen here, but this is Krabby Turtle coming in from one of the restreams, and then this is Krabby Turtle coming in from one of the other ones.
Oh, wonder if we restream them different names, because I just named it the same name. I wasn't even thinking. I wonder if I name it a different name, if you'll see it differently or something.
You probably go back post it and go back and change the title.
We've got Abigail too. These 2 just came in after you turned that on, G. So I'm guessing that both of these 2 are coming through from yours, which is kind of cool to be able to.
What's the S? Is that StreamYard or something? What's the green S?
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is.
I don't know what.
Because
no, is that Rumbles?
When
that
you
one
see
doesn't
that
have it,
little
and Clint doesn't
that
have
means
it.
that they're a channel member on YouTube, but it can't pull the API, can't pull it through to StreamYard. So it just shows up as that weird S looking symbol.
Oh, I thought it was something.
That just means they're a channel member on whoever's channel.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Hey, John, go back to what G was talking about, about changing people, helping people grow and learn. And I think about comments left in our videos, how I don't go delete a lot of them unless they're just blatantly obscene. I will sometimes delete them because I don't want that out there. But for the most part, if somebody calls me out on something or yells at me about something, it's amazing how many times I've responded to them in a civil manner. And then they either come back and say, look, man, I'm sorry. I'm just giving you crap. I was having a bad day. Or, it's like, I'm not looking for apologies, but I'm saying, how many people like actually engage in a conversation with you? Like, you're like, okay, you made a good point. I disagree with you, but we can agree to disagree. We'll go back and forth, you can change people if you take a moment to respond to them instead of just leaving that start comment there that's just going to drive you nuts. A lot of people do respond well.
That's a good point. That's like a comment on a random, and that's more like a person having a bad day. I guess I was thinking more like the person that comes in and consistently annoys you, or like always shows up for this thing and does that. Like I was thinking.
But we've turned people, we've changed people just having conversations with them.
People go into that phase of their life. My wife's having.
But I've seen
like
both sides of that though. I mean, I've seen the person that makes that random comment. Maybe they are having that bad day, and they make that comment because, again, they have the anonymity of their screen name or whatever, and they know
Oh,
that
for sure. Yeah, they would never
they can
do it
say
if you're in the
whatever,
room with
right?
them.
But
Never.
then,
Yeah.
but here's the thing: when you make that comment back, if you, depending on, if you feed the monster or you try to defuse the bomb or whatever it is, I mean, sometimes when I get a little too worked up, or when I get, I'm just extra a-hole-ish on a given day, sometimes my wife will just give me that look, especially if it's, it's not at home, we're out in public, and she'll just kind of put me back into check, right? A good spouse or partner will do that for you. And then I'm like, you know what, you're right, I'm sorry, I'm just surly, I need more caffeine, whatever it is. But when you make that comment, it's kind of like the same effect, right? It's kind of like, hey man, I'm sorry, I didn't mean anything by it, I was running my mouth. And other times they'll double down, right? But for the most part, I mean, you can kind of weed those out too. Is like, yeah, I realized now, looking back, when I reread this, I was being kind of a jerk to you, and I'm not actually wanting to be a jerk, so hey, I'm sorry about that. Other times it's more of a hey, I want to be a jerk. And no matter what you say to them, they want to come back and have that last word, which I have fun messing with those people sometimes when they can't allow me to have the last word in. So once I see that, that's kind of like blood in the water to me. Just so you guys know out there, if you're trying to provoke me, I'm almost impossible to provoke. And in fact, I would challenge anybody to go back through my Facebook, any of my social media, and find where I actually got provoked and I wasn't messing with somebody instead, which is, a hobby of mine, is to mess with people on the internet. I don't know if you guys could tell this, but I mean, yeah, it's sometimes I have to grow too, like G said, and I've got to figure out, hey, is this a teachable moment? Is it time for me to grow up a little bit and actually be the adult in the room? Or is this somebody that it doesn't matter what I say, they just want to mess with me, in which case, game on, right? Open season. Let's mess with people back. So, see, now here, case in point, we start talking about this. Somebody out there in the chat has got to throw this in there and just drop the grenade in the room and say that a hot dog is not a sandwich. And see, again, anonymity, whoever this defense dad guy is, he's not in the panel. He's not, here to actually take the back and forth. He can just say whatever he wants and then throw the grenade in the room and leave, right?
He's just speaking facts, though. That's just truth.
I gotta agree with him. That is not a sandwich.
It's meat between two slices of bread.
It's one slice of bread. And
what more do you want?
It's not a sandwich.
What's the difference?
And it's not even meat.
What is the difference between the shape of? It's just the shape. It's the same thing as a slice of bologna. It's just the shape. That's all it is. Is the hot dog? It's the same chemical. It's the same meat content. Go grab some Oscar Mayer weenies and go grab some Oscar Mayer bologna and tell me if there isn't a difference.
What's the difference between a taco and a hot dog?
If you want me to go tabletop review both of them to prove the point, I will do that. Okay, I'm seriously. I haven't tabletop bologna yet, but I will. So,
hot dogs and bologna are in the same mush.
Same thing.
They're not even meat. They're not meat though.
But if you put a slice of bologna on bread, or you put a hot dog, see, where's this passion and fire when we're fighting for two-way advocacy, John? We'll say
that's what I'm saying
for hours over the hot dog argument.
I'm pretty sure
I'm sweating more right now. And this is
ended over this hot dog topic. Honestly, I think there's people that aren't talking.
Let me finish. Let me finish. No, I'm just kidding.
Gunpowder Beauty, I love that. She saw a T-shirt that says, "I'm not gonna be the bigger person, so don't mess with me today." Which I hope you bought that, Gunpowder, because that is that and Throat Punch. Those are your shirts. Now,
oh man, look at Mr. Knives comment
on the other side and stir the pot and say that Cheryl said it's a sandwich, and we're not going to argue with Cheryl. And yeah, that's one grandma that I don't want to make mad. I'd like to stay on Cheryl's good side. So Clover says a connected hot dog bun. In what world is a connected hot dog bun 2 slices of bread? I get it now. Okay, but then we come back to Subway and how they cut their bread
Well,
on their
in
sandwiches.
reality, this is all just a it's a rift between the actual hot dog and an open-faced hot dog sandwich, which are two separate things, and it can be, both depending on how it's prepared. And that goes back to 2A. They depend on the rifts, and there's people that'll come in and poke those open sores because they'd rather see people yell, right, than see progress get made. And then I guess the final thing, just because we are online and it is 2023, we have nation states that want to mess with us. So in reality, we have a giant, or at least a couple of giant, technically capable nation states that would love to see us messed up. How theoretically possible would it be to send equivalent of their CIA to mess with people? How hard would it be to mess with people in reality? They could go to Jeep people and talk about Toyotas. They could go to Fender people and talk about casters, or I don't know, guitars, but you know what I mean? They could just go to sports and talk about the other sports.
Right.
And they could be messing with us. So if we don't know if that human being on the other side is seriously our enemy, and they're seriously working against us, and they don't have constructive stuff to give us, then we're wasting a lot of our time worrying about them.
They may be agents provocateur, you're saying.
Right. And I'm using China, but it could just as easily be somebody paid by Bloomberg who's unscrupulous and savvy. And we've got other, we just got people who should be on our side, who claim to be, who make $16 million plus. No one pays attention to who they are. They have sub organizations in other states. And how hard would it be for someone who's making $16 million a year as an organization to want to skirt under the radar, to get mad at the people that are doing efforts? And how hard would it be to, again, be unscrupulous and poke? So
I don't think that doesn't happen either.
So just strategically and tactically, it's not a great idea to let the dogs barking stop you from your mission or from your goal.
Oh yeah. Now I'm going to do 2 more comments here, and then we're going to put the food thing to bed. Clint for the win says he's a certified fat guy. Call it a hot dog or call it anything you want. He's just going to call it yummy. And then the other thing, just because if I don't do this, I'm not sure that I can stay married. Eggerizer for the win on pizza.
Oh, yeah.
Pineapple does belong on pizza. I know it does because my wife said so. And that's it.
Pizza, baby.
Mic drop. End of discussion. My wife said so. So that's it.
And Mr. Knives' comment, though, he's taking it to a whole new realm. A hot dog's a taco and a sub is a burrito.
Well, okay. Any fans of the show Scorpion in the chat? Because I mean, my money for my money, I want the U dog. So if you can't get a U dog, then just don't even bother. Okay, so enough about the food here. Michael had a question. Where are we getting all these comments? You're watching on somebody else's stream that's restreaming this off of my channel, and so that's where. If you're, and I don't know if these show up for everybody, if you're actually on the main feed.
When they go up on your screen, they do for sure. But we should probably mention, we're restreaming, we're simulcasting a show on that's the main show is on Sand.
You can't see him in the main one over there. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're not streamed watching the original stream, then you don't see our comments, and if you're in the mainstream, you don't get to see all of the restream people's comments. However, as the admin here on the StreamYard, I get to see all the comments. There, CloverTech explained it better than I just did.
No, there's nothing hidden that I'm seeing comments from my channels or anything. I'm just seeing the ones that you're seeing, right? We're all seeing the same ones, in other words. We're not seeing separate comments from our stream.
Right, so, hey, I got a question on this. Since we're doing this is kind of the Wild West right now, the way this is running. If something happens and one person gets a strike, do we all get a strike?
I don't think
snap.
so.
Can you imagine somebody pick something up?
I mean,
Lord.
Oh my gosh.
Because like,
well, I guess we're all going down to Blazing Glory together.
That means we all just get slammed to get shut down at the same time. I don't know. That's a little scary.
Thanks,
I don't know if I can.
I
feel safe with you guys. I'm going to save place with you guys.
I'm pretty sure that no, it's probably all just going to come back on me.
That would definitely hit every channel the same way we'd have the benefits of it. We'd have the disadvantages.
It's true. It is YouTube, and they're not going to give us the benefit of the doubt probably either. So
I apologize in advance, John.
Thanks
John
for if my channel gets a strike, it's all Pat's fault.
Pick on John, not me.
The bunker is.
Oh man, is there any contraband on screen? Okay.
So you guys that are in the panel and you're seeing the comments come through StreamYard, can you see the ones with the little link icon above the little?
Well, I see Clover
YouTube
Tech,
video?
Woods, Mario, Abigail, Sandhill, or Sweetheart, Knives, Woods, Knives, Gunpowder. That's who I'm seeing.
Okay,
Like
so
going up the side right there. I see, and some of them have links, so I'm guessing they're coming from other channels.
right.
Okay, so who's over on Pat's? Is anybody over on Pat's that's not here? Gunpowder
think-
Beauty was over there, I think, wasn't she?
Well, somebody go over
yeah,
on Pat's. And
I've got
Yeah, okay,
three
now
watching.
question.
who's ever
Travis?
on Pat's, type in "I'm on Pat's channel." Everybody type in what channel you're on. That's how
Yeah,
we do
just
it.
type in
Everybody
what channel
type
you're
in what
watching
channel
from.
you're on.
Yeah, there
And
you go.
Travis, can
Okay.
you see the ones with the little
Yeah,
link?
sounds good.
Since you're not restreaming, and so nobody's coming on Travis's right now.
I'm not streaming it right now.
Right. So when
I haven't
you
started
look in
doing
the
It only
Yeah.
lets you do two. It only lets you do two off of your mainstream. So I think if you tried, it would tell you there's too many or something.
I thought it would let me do 6.
Or, I'm sorry, whatever the max is. It'll only let you do the max, whatever it is, 6 or 4. I don't remember.
Yeah, well, because there's 3 right now, so I know it'll do more than 2.
Yeah,
Okay.
because Clover
I
Tech's
just
coming
left
through
one on G's
StreamYard.
channel, and I just said I'm on G's channel. Okay, it's popping up on StreamYard, but is it popping up on John's? That's what I don't know.
Right. So can you see all the
So
people
we're
saying
seeing
I'm
them
on,
all. I'm
I'm
seeing
on
all
G
of them.
Webs, Travis?
Yeah.
On the street in StreamYard, can you see the comments coming through that say I'm on G Webs?
Yes, but I don't see it on your individual channel.
Your
'cause I left
channels
the
will be
comment on
separate.
Right.
It can't,
No,
but
you
it can't
won't.
do that. The
You can only see
API
them in
won't be able to
StreamYard.
pick it up and move between channels. It's only going to come to funnel
Not yet.
StreamYard.
Okay, so back to reality. Clint says it's rather scary how on the money G Webs is. Look at all the certain 3-letter agencies that have done it with just a few agents provocateur. Yes, that's very true.
Oh, I didn't even want to get into that side, but there's always that potential.
There's that
as
too,
well.
yeah. Randy over there on Facebook says, hope you guys listen to Mark Levin
He's on
and Mark Lee Van Camp, which I do occasionally catch Mark Levin. There's so many things that are great and not enough time for me to listen to all of them. But for sure, Mark Levin is really cool. And you can catch him if you have, what is that, Newsmax? Isn't Levin on?
I listen to
Newsmax?
Mark on XM in the afternoons. He's on like at 3 o'clock or 4
Okay.
o'clock on XM. I think there's like 3. Breitbart's got some really good.
He
on
does some
Patriot
stuff
has
on
some
the
really good
Blaze
shows.
too.
Oh yeah, they're on Blaze.
I think he's syndicated through the Blaze, I think is where Mark actually comes from. But he's got a show that's on like Sundays or something on I think it's Newsmax. It's like Life, Liberty, and Levin. And they may re-show it again throughout the week, but I think
Alex Marlowe's pretty cool too. I listen to him in the mornings. He's on almost every morning on XM.
honestly, now
Yeah.
I don't go like I said, there's way more than I can ever get through in a day. Every day I try to catch up on 2 main ones. And then if time allows, if I've got a lot of windshield time, I can maybe catch more. But I tried to get the News and Why It Matters, which now has its own. You can get it on the Blaze, but you can if you subscribe to the Blaze. Otherwise, it's on YouTube. Just the News and Why It Matters. It's its own channel now, hosted by Sarah Gonzalez. She's really good. And then also the Rubin Report with Dave Rubin, and he goes live in the mornings. And Sarah's is recorded and then premiered at 5 Central Time. And those they're both on YouTube. Dave Rubin is he started locals.com, which is again not a dating site, and then they merged with Rumble, and so now he's a fairly
Who is that guy?
substantial-
What do you mean he started locals? Like he's a programmer, tech guy?
I don't know if he's a programmer. I think he like invested in it and made it
Oh,
happen
okay.
and hired.
He's like a Rush Limbaugh guy who came along and said Rumble or locals should be a thing.
maybe. Yeah, I mean
Okay,
he's
he's
still,
not like an Elon Musk who's like a
no,
tech guy.
no, he's not like an Elon Musk. He's like a how do I say this? Like a Craig DeLuz or a Mike Piwarski came along and
Oh.
said, "Hey, I want to start my own social media."
Because
platform.
locals has a lot of potential. That's why I was wondering. If he was
Yeah,
like a
well,
tech guy.
from
I'd
what
like
I
to
hear,
talk
they
to the
just
tech
got
guy.
Crowder on there a week ago.
Oh,
and
I
they've
mean technical wise. I don't mean.
oh, sure.
I don't even
Well,
know who's on it. I just mean
Yeah,
technically.
they've got
it
some
looks
cool
like a
stuff
decent-
happening. Anyway, they're linked into Rumble, and Dave Rubin is a substantial shareholder now since Rumble went public. But he's really cool, and he'll tell you about his journey from left to center to right of center. Basically, he didn't move. He's like Elon Musk with that little graphic he put up what was it, a year or so ago, how the center point moved because the people on the left went so far left and he stayed the same, and now he's on the right. And that's kind of how Dave Rubin was. He's a little more conservative now than ever, especially now that he's a dad. But I mean, he's married to a dude. He's not like your typical stuffed shirt hardcore conservative like a lot of the folks are. But they both, most of the current events I catch from either one or both of them, and then whatever headlines I see or something maybe throughout the day if I get a chance to scroll through some of the interwebs. But there's so many cool shows out there that need to be. Maybe one of these weeks we're just going to go through and talk about all of the ones that we watch or listen to and get those out there and try to get links posted up to them so people can find them. Yeah, Clint says Dave's really good. Russell Brand runs a great podcast. I've not listened to it, but I like what I'm seeing and hearing from Russell Brand lately, especially where he's willing to completely if you step out halfway conservative in Hollywood, you're basically burning bridges for life. And he's willing to do that because he cares more about speaking his mind and speaking the truth, which, it's funny. I see a lot of these folks that weren't born in the US and who got here as quick as they could and appreciate the freedoms that they didn't have in whichever country they left to get here. They're so much more likely to fight for the freedoms because they know what we turn into if we lose them, because that's where they left from. And so, I've got a coworker who's working on getting her citizenship now, and she's in the country legally, but she came from Cuba, and she'll tell you about how the communists are because she lived it. She grew up there. And so she's fairly new and we haven't had a lot of time to really, talk much, but just some of the things that she said, she's very happy now that she's raising her kids in the US. Even happier that she's in Nebraska compared to Miami. So they talk Florida up like it's some great thing, but Nebraska's even better, but I don't want anybody else to know that. So, because we don't want them all here.
Lower cost of living overall.
Even in Nebraska politics, it is amazing how many people are involved that weren't even born here in Nebraska. They might even be from other states, and I think that's a good point that on the 2A side, on the political side, it doesn't matter where you're from. We're just glad you're here and that they're involved, and I kind of wish more Nebraskans would be more involved than what they are.
Oh yeah, dude, after working the gun show this last weekend, so at NFOA, we've got one of our board of directors named Aaron, and he's our main gun show guy. And that dude runs ragged. He's going clear out to the western part of the state here in a little while to get to a gun show out there. But since I live here in Norfolk, when the Norfolk Gun Show comes along, I typically do that all by myself unless I have to call in a relief pitcher for one of the nights. Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
But typically I give Aaron the weekend off so he doesn't have to do it. And I hang out at the gun show. And that's what I did all weekend long while I was there, was tell people that, that wanted to talk about our permitless carry bill, LB 77 here in Nebraska. And I kept saying, we need everybody to help. If you're not willing to help, then you must not want it bad enough. And if we don't get it, then it's your fault, not mine, because I'm doing the work. I said I tried to find a tactful way to say that to most people that didn't need to be slapped across the face with it. But I said exactly what I said earlier. You need to call all the senators in our state Senate, and the ones that voted yes to send it on to the next round, thank them and ask them to do it again 2 more times. And then ones that voted no, just be polite and ask them to please reconsider. But if they're not hearing from us as a whole, as a state, then why would we expect them to do what we want? Because we're not telling them what to do. Right. And so many people are defeatist. Well, it doesn't do any good. Well, how would you know? You've never tried. And it's because of that attitude that we don't have permitless carry already, which we should have had in 1988 when the Constitution in the state was amended. So anyway, back off my soapbox now. Yeah, we went from a food chat over to a very good podcast or news show, or news host, or podcast host chat. Maybe that's what we'll do next week. We'll talk about that. Round up all your fun podcasts and shows, radio, TV, whatever you like, where you get your news, and we're going to talk about those. They might be YouTube channels. They might be somebody that's syndicated on radio, or I don't know, but we'll get there. We'll do that next week.
I'd like to make mention this Clover track didn't even know Nebraska was a state. That's fine. Just keep flying over. It's all right. It's not for everybody.
Well, you got to know the guy. I mean, he's
chances are they had one of our steaks. Surely
every time Cloverjack flies anywhere, he's got to pay extra because he brings his pot of gold with him. He's a leprechaun. And so
gotcha.
That makes him angry that he has to pay the extra baggage fee and the extra weight for that pot of gold. But I mean, he's still pretty cool. He tastes the rainbow. So, although if you say rainbow anymore, does that mean that's more of a?
Oh boy, here we go,
guys. Everything flows downstream.
You went there. Here we go.
Flows downstream. So
the points and things made by Sandhills Media is not necessarily reflect the rest of this panel.
Oh, it absolutely is. It absolutely is 100%. What are you talking about, man?
Oh, you know what?
I had to throw that one back in his face a little bit.
There you go. Look at that. Look at that. See, that fixes all of our problems right there.
It's Frank.
Yeah, like a cute puppy.
Oh man.
So okay, so I think we're gonna end on a good note, and we're gonna give everybody a chance to wrap up, and we'll just get out of here before it goes. Before we have a chance for anything to go terrible. This has been fun. I didn't know if we'd have enough about, just talking about my rant to get us through an entire show, but you guys, thank you for you panelists and you out there in the live chat for keeping us going here and giving us a little over an hour's worth of this. And so let's just go back in reverse order here. We will we'll give a chance for final thoughts and any shameless plugs that you want to make. So G-Webs, we'll start with you.
Thanks again for hosting. Thanks for the link. It's cool to have a show that's consistently bringing everybody together, focus on 2A. 2023, the trolls aren't going away. The infiltrators aren't going away. The agent provocateurs aren't going away. And there's so many more new people coming into the mix that we value them, right? Like we champion them and we use them as a resource and a way to validate our position. So be aware that everything is an opportunity, right? So can be frustrating, but at the same time, we've got peers that have gone through this before and people that are going through it with you, and you got people that haven't gone through it yet. So sometimes it's just as, I can tell you, sometimes it's just as effective to help somebody up as it is to get frustrated by the stuff that's inevitable. So appreciate the time, and thanks for, again, keeping a focus on 2A and everything you're doing in Nebraska, even though you have a panhandle.
Yeah, well, I mean, the cool states do. So do you have any projects or anything coming up that needs to be mentioned, G?
Every night, Daily Gun Show.
There you
Join us at midnight if you want to stay up.
Midnight Eastern, midnight Arizona.
I heard it's the good time zone, or the time zone that comes first, or the fastest time zone, or something about the easiest time
one
zone.
in the middle.
You've
It's the one that matters. It's the bullseye of the time zone.
Stack of poop, Dan Wass, haven't you? Get off.
I don't know. I've seen bumper stickers. Or
get off the Daily Bullet. Don't be listening to what Dan Wass has to say on the Daily Bullet today. Actually, you should. You guys should go catch that because it was a good episode. But no, it's anyway. So midnight Eastern. That's 11 o'clock p.m. and the only time zone that matters, and then it gets earlier as you go west. So you're back on what, California time now, right?
I'm still figuring it out. I'm 3 hours different from East Coast again, so I think that makes me Pacific time again. Yes.
Yeah, that would.
I'm mostly thinking of it from the phone calls I keep missing going east. So
what time is on your watch or your phone, G? 6:15.
No, that's the problem. That's what's horrible is the phones. If you tell them go with the system time, they're like, yeah, I don't know what the system time is. And if you tell them go to Arizona time, they're like, I don't know what Arizona time is. So everybody in Arizona literally wakes up for a week going, oh, I wonder if it's 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock or 6 o'clock. I don't know what time it is.
And how would I check? Because my
you
phone
got to
is
go on a
normally-
computer eventually, but
Kids can
unless
go
your
late to
car or
school,
something
adults
that's
can go
not
late to work.
connected, but it's like the devices really don't get it. And it because we're in list of priorities, all the real time zones matter. And then they're like, oh, Arizona must not care. So, literally any kind of software glitch gets down to low priority.
If you don't care, why should we, right?
Yeah, seriously. No, I mean, seriously. So it is frustrating for us for a while. I mean, I make light of it, but I'll literally get up and my phone it'll say 7 a.m. and I'll be like, right on, I got like an hour, and I'll turn on my computer and it's 8 a.m.
Hey man, what time are you arriving to Phoenix? I have no idea.
Yeah,
whenever I get there.
Yeah, it just says TBA on the ticket. I have no clue.
I don't know that it's gone anywhere, but usually every year in Nebraska, a bill gets introduced that would opt us out of daylight savings time, and that's even more fun since we have 2 time zones in our state. So I don't know how they would do that if they'd make us go on.
Oh yeah, that's a whole
statewide
kind
one
of
time zone.
lameness, I imagine. I forgot about that, but there are some states where they've decided, yeah, let's just make it so each of them have, half the town, right, will be one time zone or the other.
There's actually the town of Valentine, Nebraska. From what my high school history teacher said when he was young, the time zone line went right up Main Street in that town, which it's not a big town. It's less than 2,000 people, or right about 2,000 people. But I mean, for the area, it's got grocery stores and doctor offices and stuff like that, and when you try to make an appointment and you're like, well, which time, is it 11 o'clock your time, my time, which side of the town are you on? It was such a chore. They finally got him to move the time zone line west of Valentine so that it doesn't actually split a town. It's bad enough when it splits, a state, but yeah, that was terrible. Cool. Well, thank you very much for hanging out with us and for your input and for, again, just everything that you've done over the years and continue to do to help others, what you do yourself, but what you do to help the rest of us keep the fight going, keep the word out. So appreciate it. And thanks, Frank the Pug. We appreciate it. You too. So Joe, closing thoughts for you, and then I know you don't have a YouTube channel to talk about, but anything else you want to plug that's going on, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, John, for having me on tonight. Always enjoy spending time with you guys. Just remember the NFOA to get on our Facebook page and our email. It's info@nebraskafirearms.org, and you can get all our email blasts for what's coming up in the legislature. As we discussed earlier, definitely get on and pay attention what your senators are doing. Get involved. The being a keyboard warrior is one thing. Sometimes that's all we can do. And those of you who can do more, definitely do more. Other than that, I really don't have a lot to add tonight, John. It's been a long week.
It's all right. I appreciate you being here. I just want to call before I take you off full screen, I want to call everybody's attention to the way that Joe is sitting, and then look at baby Groot over there by that computer. And just 2 peas in a pod. You and your little baby Groot you're so cute when you sit the same way as each other and you copycat each other like that. So.
That's my wife, and here's the other one. She's got a little Yoda that's up on the.
Did you say that's your wife or that's your wife's?
That's my wife. She likes Groot and she likes Yoda. Don't get me in trouble, John. You know my wife. I know yours too. So yeah, she has her little baby Groot.
I can look right next to it the room and see a similar baby Groot, but not in that pose. My wife also has the baby Groot that's got the what do you call it? The heart hands. He's doing whatever the thing is. I can't get it up on the camera, but anyway, similar to that one. But anyway, thank you and baby Groot and baby Yoda for joining us tonight. We appreciate you. Pat, we'll move over to you. Closing thoughts, shameless plugs.
I just want to say thanks for having me on tonight. And keyboard warriors. I equate them to smoke up certain rear ends. So, or sunshine, depending on how you want to phrase that. But Yeah, you got to go out and do something. Whether it's on the keyboard or whether it's writing a letter or anything, you can't have one without the other because
Right.
you can spout, you can spew garbage out your mouth all you want to, but until you actually do something and actually put pen to paper or put your fingers on the keyboard and actually try to do something proactive and eliminate everything before it comes to the end, the dead stop, the actual cartridge box. Just my 2 cents.
Right. Nope. Makes good sense to me. And again, I want to just make sure if you're still with us this late in the chat, especially if you were here for the whole thing, there's a huge difference between being a keyboard warrior and being a true Second Amendment warrior and using your keyboard as your weapon of choice or your tool of choice. Right. There's nothing wrong with using the keyboard, and I don't want anybody to think that I'm disparaging the use of social media or making comments or posts. I mean, I'd be pretty hypocritical if I did do that. I'm just talking about the people that all they ever do is run their mouth just to hear themselves talk or just to see that they're somebody because they made a comment, but they don't actually do anything. That's what I was getting at. So absolutely, if what you're doing is helping promote the cause, then keep it up. So, all right. Travis, we'll move over to you. Closing thoughts, shameless plugs.
Yeah, I mean, you can change hearts and minds, believe it or not. And then there will be some people that won't change no matter what you do, but don't give up on people. I mean, like I said, be civil, respond back, be a good steward of the gun community, and you might be able to change a few people. I think that's important. It's a fun discussion tonight, and it's true. I mean, it's just it's there's so many different like angles to approach it from. I think we did a pretty good job just kind of tackling the topic. Otherwise, again, shameless plugs. Check out Caliber Corner Saturday morning, 8 a.m. We'll have Central Time. We'll have an episode this Saturday ready to go. And I just put out another video this morning. I showed off the High Point 10 millimeter JXP 10, took it to the range and had a great time with the cordless drill. I say that because it weighs more than my cordless drill. And let's see what else. And Thunder on the Prairie, go over to nebraskashooters.com and get signed up if you're interested. Watch my video on what Thunder on the Prairie 2023 is all about. I did a video that talks about all the details behind it. It should be a good time. It's going to be fun. And that's it. So I appreciate the invite. It's always a lot of fun to be here. And yeah, I do appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, we got some last minute comments coming in. 556 Media says, I always get slammed in the Pro 2A community because I always stress training is key. I don't know anybody in my circles that would slam you for saying that, because training is key. Half of the people that I know in Pro 2A, in the Pro 2A community, are trainers as well. And almost all of them keep furthering their training. I mean, they take more training as they can all the time. Also, Crumpy's out there needing some help, and glad you're out there, Crumpy. He needs a disabled shooter or 3 to speak to the Senate. Is that in Washington or there in Virginia in Richmond? Crumpy, I don't see any comments out there. Any more from you to specify. So are you looking for people to go to Richmond or to go to Washington? Yeah, get a hold of Crumpy. If you don't know how to get a hold of Crumpy, send me an email. If you can't find him, send me an email and I will I'll forward that on. Washington, okay. And they will cover travel. So in Washington, that means it doesn't have to be from any specific location. Any American who is disabled and shoots would qualify then. Is that correct? Very cool. So yeah, we need to I don't know what's cooking, but if Crumpy's working on it, then it's going to be something cool. So yep, doesn't matter where you are. If you're an American and you are seeing this, one last thing, Crumpy, when's the deadline? How soon do people need to contact you? All right. And then Randy says Thunder on the Prairie is actually an air show in Sioux Falls. That's pretty cool. So, all right.
It's also a Harley rally, and it's also
It's a lot of things.
It's a workhorse Nebraska show.
Cool.
So I don't know. It's just one of those things where we might have to look at a different name at some point for it. But nothing's copyrighted. Nobody's contacted me to complain about it, so we're going with it.
That's cool.
Yep.
All right. Crumpy
No,
says
it works pretty good.
2 to 3 weeks. So as soon as possible, get a hold of him if you're disabled, or if you know somebody who is disabled, then put them in contact with John Crump. And again, if you don't know how to find him or you can't find him, email me, sandhillsmediaempire@gmail, and let me know so I can forward the email on with the contact info for the disabled shooters. So a couple of them, 1 or 2 or 3 would be great. Expenses paid to get you to Washington to testify to the Senate. Okay, so we've got the list real quick before we go. Over on the Facebook side, I saw Michael out there. I saw Randy, and I don't think I saw anybody else on Facebook at all. So thank you to you two for hanging out on the Facebook side and putting those comments in. It looks like Regular Guy Guns also gave us a like or a love on the on the Facebook side. And now if you're watching from somebody else's stream, then again you're not on the list. So because my bride can't see you from the feed that she looks at, she can only see the people that were watching on the main feed here. So on the YouTube side, we had 500 Magnum, Pat in a Bunker, Jeff Moeller, Defense Dad, Travis P11, Gun Websites, Vanessa Kitty, Mr. Knives, Worthwhile Fun, Agorizer, Krabby Turtle, Gunpowder Beauty, Woods, and M. Gabriel. So again, if you didn't hear your name read, it's not because we don't love you. It's just because you were coming through on one of those other streams. Maybe by next week, we can work on that. I will at least get her signed in. She's not going to be on screen. She doesn't want a microphone. She's not going to be anything different there. But maybe if I can get her to running the comments, she can see them all, and she can put more people down that way. So, okay. That way we can expand our list. Krabby says watching on 4 different channels was quite the chat experience. I bet it was. It'd be so much easier when we just get them all in one feed here. Okay. On behalf of G-Webs and Joe and Pat and Travis and Sandhill Sweetheart, and you didn't see her walking around behind me because she's pretty content laying under Mom's desk right now, but Liberty Bell is in the house, but she's just not hyper like she used to be, so I didn't get to put any dog video up like G-Webs did. But on behalf of all of us, thank you all out there for watching, especially those of you that took place in the chat. I tell you what, it was cool having all those comments come through. I really enjoyed it. Catch us next week on the actual Sandhills Media feed, and that way you can, again, we'll see more of it. But if we get panelists that restream, cool, you'll get to see it. There's no guarantee that whoever you're watching it through right now is going to be available to be in the panel next week. So just come on over if you're catching it on a restream. Make sure you come over and subscribe to the Sandhills Media YouTube channel, or like us on Facebook. But what I'd really like, I had 0 Rumble comments. So nobody's commenting in the live chat out there in Rumble. Or I just need to, it could be that I just need to refresh it again, I guess. I don't know. But it doesn't look like it. Nope, there's just no activity over on Rumble. So I don't know if nobody's watching live or you're just not commenting, but I'd really love to grow that side over there. Rumble's cool because as long as you're not breaking any laws, they really don't care what you do on your channel. No porn or nudity and no breaking laws, but aside from that, you can touch firearms in your videos. You can actually load a magazine into a magwell without getting your Rumble channel taken down, which is pretty cool. So go find us over there, rumble.com/user/Sandhills Media, and give us a subscribe over there and join us when we're live. So that said, we appreciate all of you. We love you all. God bless you. We'll see you next week. We'll talk about the places where we get our news and current events and the shows that we like to listen to and or watch online or on TV, on the radio. So that'll be fun. We'll see you next week. But you know what time it is. You got to get out of here. You don't have to go home. You do have to get off my lawn.